Breaking. Fentanyl War goes kinetic. CIA unleashed as 7th narco-boat vaporized off Venezuela, October 2025. This is not a drill. This is not a hypothetical. The fentanyl war just stopped being a border crisis or a law enforcement problem and became a shooting war. As of this report, a 7th narco-boat has been turned into a fireball off the coast of Venezuela, struck by what sources confirm was a direct kinetic hit. This isn't a Coast Guard interdiction with warning shots across the bow. This is a declaration. Right now, a U.S. Navy task force, spearheaded by Arleigh Burke-class destroyers like the USS Gravely and shadowed by a silent, unseen Virginia-class submarine, is sitting 75 kilometers off Venezuela's coast, staring down the very heart of Maduro's narco-empire. In response to what he called imperialist pirates, Venezuela's defense minister, Padrino Lopez, is screaming on state television, scrambling his militias in La Guaira, and pointing to 5 F-35s that were caught lurking at 35,000 feet. He's right to be scared, but the F-35s are only the visible tip of the spear. Here's the intelligence that changes the entire strategic landscape. The CIA has just been given a gloves-off green light for operations inside Venezuela. And in the biggest psychological blow of all, the administration has allowed that finding to be made public. Maduro is sweating. Just days after a strike on October 3rd torched 2 tons of fentanyl precursors destined for American streets, the regime is suddenly coming to the table. Funny how that works. The gloves are off. The war has begun. Let's be brutally clear about what we are witnessing. For years, the 35 to 50-year-old American has watched the fentanyl epidemic gut our communities, hollow out our towns, and kill our children. We've been told it's a complex border problem, a smuggling problem, a demand-side problem, a law enforcement problem. October 2025 is the moment that narrative officially died. The new doctrine, apparently under a new Trump administration, as referenced in the intelligence chatter, is treating this plague for what it is, a state-sponsored chemical attack on the United States. And the source, the primary vector, is the Maduro regime's narco-empire, which has turned Venezuela into the Western Hemisphere's largest logistical hub for poison. The deployment we are seeing is not a token show of force. This is the deliberate, methodical assembly of an expeditionary strike force. On September 13th, VMFA 225, the Vikings, flew 10 F-35B Lightning IIs into what was once Roosevelt Roads in Puerto Rico. The shuttered Cold War base, now reborn as Jose Aponte de la Torre Airport, has been quietly reactivated and hardened, transforming overnight into Southcom's new forward spearhead. Those jets aren't just sitting on the tarmac for photo ops. As of this report, at least 8 of them are flying grueling 15-hour combat air patrols, CAPs, in rotating shifts, with 2 held on constant 24/7 strip alert, ready to launch at a moment's notice. But the real fist of this operation is parked 100 miles off Venezuela's coast, the USS Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group, ARG. This is not a lone destroyer. This is a 40,000-ton floating fortress, a sovereign piece of American territory carrying 4,500 Marines from the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit. This isn't a patrol. This is an invasion-ready task force. The escalation has been precise and calculated. First, the F-35s appeared, lurking in international airspace, their radar signatures appearing and disappearing, mapping every Venezuelan air defense radar, cataloging every response. Then came the strikes. 1, 2, 5. Now 7. These aren't warning shots. These are kinetic kills, likely executed by MQ-9 Reapers being fed targeting data from the F-35s high above. We're not just sinking boats. We're vaporizing the crews and their poison before it ever leaves the coast. Maduro's response was as predictable as it was pathetic. Bluster. He launched his ancient, crumbling F-16s in flyovers, a weak attempt to challenge the U.S. presence. For the F-35 pilots orbiting at 35,000 feet, watching these 40-year-old jets on their sensors from 100 miles away, it was probably a target-rich joke. But the masterstroke, the move that changed the game, is the CIA. Announcing publicly that the gloves are off inside Venezuela is a move straight out of the Reagan-era playbook. It's a psychological operation of the highest order. It's not just about hitting the assets. It's about hitting the leadership. It tells Maduro, we are not just at your shore. We are in your house. We are listening to your generals. We are watching your bankers. And we are coming for your cartel bosses. And it worked. Suddenly, Maduro wants to negotiate. This is the peace through strength doctrine made manifest in real time. The F-35 is the technological fist, but the entire operation is a masterclass in calculated, coercive escalation. The message is simple, and it is being delivered with steel. The fentanyl pipeline to America will be severed, one way or another. Why the F-35B? Why this specific, exotic, and incredibly expensive piece of hardware? If you're in our target demographic, you grew up on Top Gun. You think of naval air power as F-14s or F-A-18s launching from the catapults of massive, nuclear-powered supercarriers. The F-35B shatters that mold. This isn't the Air Force's A model, designed for long concrete runways. This isn't the Navy's C model, with its beefy landing gear for carrier traps. This is the Marine Corps' STOVL, short takeoff and vertical landing variant. And in this specific fight, in this specific region, that single capability changes everything. The lily pad doctrine, no runway, no problem. The F-35B does not need a 10,000-foot concrete runway. It doesn't even need a full-deck supercarrier. This untethers it from traditional, vulnerable, and predictable main operating bases. Sea power. It operates from the 800-foot deck of an LHD, landing helicopter dock, like the USS Iwo Jima. This 40,000-ton Gator freighter, traditionally used for helicopters and Harriers, has been transformed into a Lightning carrier. Its deck is reinforced with high-heat alloy steel and special thermal coatings specifically to handle the F-35's blistering 1,200-degree Fahrenheit exhaust. It can launch a sortie, strike a target, and recover, all without a $13 billion supercarrier being anywhere in the hemisphere. Land power. This is the real game changer. The B model needs just 500 feet of runway to get airborne with a full combat load. It can then land vertically on a 95-foot concrete pad, just like a helicopter. This is the key to the entire Caribbean operation. The Marines can set up FARPs, forward arming and refueling points, on any tiny, forgotten island in the chain. A dusty dirt strip in Aruba, a patch of concrete in Tobago, a small, cleared jungle strip. The doctrine is simple and brilliant. An MV-22 Osprey, the FedEx of the battlefield, flies in with fuel bladders and missiles. The F-35B, running low on fuel after a 4-hour patrol, simply hops over, lands vertically, hot pits, refuels with engines running, rearms, and is back in the sky in under 30 minutes. This creates a distributed, resilient, and utterly unpredictable web of air power. There is no central, vulnerable airbase for Maduro to target. The F-35s are everywhere and nowhere, appearing from any direction at any time. 2. The engine. Raw vertical power. What makes this possible is the Pratt & Whitney F-135 PW600 engine, coupled with the Rolls-Royce lift fan. This is an engineering marvel. At the push of a button, the pilot can engage the lift fan, and the engine nozzle swivels 90 degrees downward. It directs 40,000 pounds of raw thrust straight down. It's a controlled explosion that allows a 30-ton, fully loaded strike fighter to hover and land with the precision of a helicopter. When it's not hovering, that same engine, in conventional mode, punches the jet to Mach 1.6. It's a brawler and a ballerina in one lethal package. 3. The God's Eye, sensor fusion. This is what separates the F-35 from every fighter ever built. It is not a plane. It is a flying data fusion supercomputer. The pilot is not so much a pilot in the traditional sense as a battlespace manager. EOTS, Electro-Optical Targeting System. This is the eye. Tucked under the jet's chin in a stealthy facet, this sensor can zoom in and pin a single 30-foot go-fast boat, distinguish its heat signature, and track it from 50,000 feet, 50 miles away. The boat crew never knows they're being watched. They are simply deleted. APG-81. AESA radar. This is the most advanced active electronically scanned array radar on the planet. It can simultaneously track hundreds of targets, from boats on the water to F-16s in the air. It can map the ground in high resolution through clouds and smoke. Crucially, it can also act as a powerful electronic warfare weapon, pinpoint jamming Venezuelan radars into blindness. DAS, Distributed Aperture System. This is the magic. 6 infrared cameras are embedded in the skin of the jet itself, nose, wings, tail. They create a seamless 360-degree infrared sphere of vision that is piped directly into the pilot's $400,000 helmet. The pilot can literally look through the floor of the cockpit and see the world below him. He sees everything. 4. The kill web. The Aegis connection. This is the secret sauce and the part that should terrify our adversaries. The F-35B doesn't fight alone. It is the forward sensor for the entire fleet. The F-35 pushes forward, deep into hostile airspace, in full stealth. Its EOTS and radar see everything. Because of the curvature of the Earth, the USS Gravely's powerful SPY-6 radar, 100 miles back, is blind to targets flying low over the Venezuelan coast. But the F-35 isn't. The F-35 uses its stealthy MADL, multifunction advanced data link, to beam that targeting data, the picture it sees, back to the Gravely's Aegis combat system. The Aegis operator in the ship's darkened CIC, Combat Information Center, now sees what the F-35 pilot sees, in real time. He selects a target. He fires an SM-6 missile from his vertical launch system. That missile screams off the rail at Mach 3.5. It travels 100 miles, acquiring its own data from the F-35 as it flies. The F-35 pilot never fired a shot. He never made a sound. He was simply the eyes for the ship's hammer. This is NCA, Naval Integrated Fire Control Counter-Air. It extends the fleet's lethal bubble from 50 miles to hundreds of miles. The transcript mentions using an SM-6 to shred a narco-boat. That's not overkill. That's a systems check. If they can link that kill chain for a tiny, fast-moving speedboat, they can do it for a Venezuelan F-16. or a Chinese destroyer, or an Iranian patrol boat. This is the new doctrine of distributed maritime operations, and it is being field-tested right now in our backyard. The video lays out two hypothetical operations. These aren't fantasy. These are textbook applications of the exact doctrine we just discussed, the playbook that is likely being written right now. Scenario 1. Operation Tidal Hammer, Coastal Interdiction. This is the outer ring fight. This is about stopping the poison before it even gets on the open water, severing the artery at the coast. The scene. Dawn. A desolate, mangrove-choked coast off Trinidad. A narco mothership is anchored, using its cranes to load 2 tons of fentanyl precursors onto a small fleet of go-fast boats. The Eyes. A platoon from 4th Recon Battalion. These are not MARSOC door kickers. The transcript calls them amphibious ghosts. They fast rope from an MH-60 Seahawk under cover of darkness, infiltrate the beach, and set up a silent, cold hide in the swamp. They are the human sensor. The Hammer. 2 F-35Bs launch, but not from the Iwo Jima. To prove the concept, they launch from a forward austere strip in Aruba, demonstrating the FARP's doctrine. They climb to 40,000 feet, invisible, loitering 50 miles away. The kill chain. 1. The recon team laces the mothership with a laser designator, sending the target data up via SATCOM. 2. The F-35Bs acquire the signal. Their EOTS confirms the target, and their APG-81 paints the entire fleet of boats, feeding it to the network. 3. The Aegis destroyer. USS Samson, a new ship mentioned in the intel, locks the target. 4. The F-35 pilot gets cleared hot from the task force commander. He confirms no civilians in the area. 5. Shack. 2 1,000-pound GPS-guided JDMs are released. They fall silently for 30 seconds before turning the mothership into a twisted ruin of scrap metal. 6. Splash. Jet 2 engages the now scattering go-fasts. The transcript mentions hellfires, but more likely, it's a ripple fire of small-diameter bombs, SDBs, small, smart, 250 sols gliding munitions. The F-35 can carry 8 of them internally. It's a multi-kill, turning the water into a shrapnel bloom. The exit. The recon team exfils on Zodiac boats as the F-35s orbit overhead. Any Venezuelan patrol boats or F-16s that dare to respond are met by the Aegis destroyers SM-6s. Result. Fentanyl route severed. 0 U.S. losses. The STOVL jets are refueled and rearmed in Aruba before the first Venezuelan press release is even written. Scenario 2. Operation Deep Venezuelan Incursion, Decapitation Strike. This is the escalation. This is the inner ring. This is the strike that doesn't just hit the product, it targets the regime itself. The scene. Deep in the Orinoco Delta. Not a coastline, but a hardened jungle fortress. A concrete cartel lab personally shielded by Maduro's forces. The Eyes. First Force Recon. This is the A-Team. They conduct a halo, high-altitude, low-opening, jump from 30,000 feet at night, or swim in silently using rebreathers, which produce no bubbles. They are deep inside sovereign Venezuela. The complication. This is the most chilling part of the intel. The recon team doesn't just tag cartel bosses. They tag IRGC, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, advisors from Iran. This single piece of intelligence changes the entire game. It is the justification for the strike. This is no longer a narco-op. This is a counter-terrorism operation, linking Venezuela directly to the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. The Hammer 1. An F-35B pair launches from the 500-foot STO roll on the deck of the USS Iwo Jima, 100 miles offshore. They climb into the black. 2. Wizard, Jet 1. This jet acts as the electronic warfare platform. It engages its next-generation jammer pod, or the APG-81's own EW function, and blinds Venezuela's entire air defense network. 3. Quarterback, Jet 2. This jet pushes forward, using its sensors to beam a real-time God's-eye view of the compound directly to the Force Recon team leader's tablet. 4. The kill. This is the brilliant part. The F-35s do not fire. They are too valuable, and the target is too deep and well defended. Instead, the Aegis destroyer, 100-plus miles away, gets the final target data from the F-35. The destroyer's VLS cells open. 5. Away. 2 JASSM-ERs, Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missiles, are launched. These are 500 nautical mile range, stealthy cruise missiles. They fly low, weaving through the jungle terrain, completely undetected by the jammed radars. 6. The recon team watches as the JASSM-ERs slam into the concrete lab, penetrating the bunkers before exploding in a massive fireball. The cleanup. The strike is over, but the mission isn't. The F-35s move in for cleanup, as squirters, surviving high-value targets, cartel bosses, and IRGC advisors, flee in trucks. The F-35s engage. They open their internal weapon bays and release their SDBs, hitting multiple moving vehicles with pinpoint accuracy. The exit. A pair of MV-22 Ospreys roar in for a hot extraction, grabbing the recon team as the F-35s provide close air support. The Aegis destroyer watches the entire airspace, ensuring no one gets in and everyone gets out. Result: high-value targets down. The lab is ash. The regime's narco money line is cut. And a clear, undeniable message is sent to Iran. What you have just read is not science fiction. It is not a Tom Clancy novel. It is the blueprint for the new American way of war. This is the doctrine. This is the F-35B, a STOVL jet that acts as a sensor, a quarterback, a jammer, and a lethal killer, all while seamlessly networking with the fleet to project power from hundreds of miles away. This what-if scenario in the Caribbean is more than just a fantasy about stopping cartels. It is a live-fire demonstration, a real-world test case of precisely how the U.S. Marine Corps and U.S. Navy intend to fight and win in the 21st century. This exact combination of distributed lethality, sensor fusion, stealth, and expeditionary lily-pad basing is the answer to every major threat we face. It's the answer to China's anti-access area denial strategy in the South China Sea. It's the answer to Iran's swarming fast boats in the Straits of Hormuz. And yes, as we are seeing, it's the answer to state-sponsored narco-terrorists in our own backyard. The F-35B isn't just a jet. It's the linchpin of an entirely new, more lethal, and more flexible doctrine. The question is, are we, as a nation, prepared to use it? So, that's the F-35B in the Caribbean. What do you all think? Is this the level of force required to finally end the fentanyl crisis? Or is this a dangerous escalation with a regime that is actively backed by Russia, China, and Iran? Let me know your analysis in the comments below.